Evening, everyone. Do not adjust your sets. It is me, the caller. I'm new to this, so please go easy on me. It's been a while, and I am pleased to be back on the Cheese Room tonight. 28 of you watching already, hit the like button. Please do subscribe while you're there. We're going to get into all sorts tonight. Mainly around what state our club is in. But before we do that, before we get to that, I've got three illustrious guests with me. I use that word very loosely. All the way from the land down under, it is Davo. How are you, Davo? And woken up to more breaking news today.
Yeah. I mean, it's all that happens at the moment. Tottenham wake up in the morning, and then there's another piece of news that we'll get into. And look, good luck, caller, on your debut tonight. You know, if you're a bit nervous about doing the show, we're here to support you, mate. You're right. You're in a safe space, so good luck. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm in a safe space. Yes, it's been a while. But there we go. Speaking of been a while, Steve, how are you? Your hat and t-shirt combination is very fetching today.
Thank you. It's the same one I wore when I met Jack in Brooklyn, so he's well used to seeing me in this. Had a very good evening with him. We ate far too much, drank far too much, and had a thoroughly depressing chat about our club. But good to be back on.
Well, I'm looking for. I'm thinking tonight could be uplifting, or at least some comedic value could be added. So look, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show because you are well known for your comedy routine. Also joining from Brooklyn, how are you, Flat Cat Jack?
Doing all right. I guess we have to cancel the skinny jean orders and the oat milk latte. If anybody was getting used to that, I guess you can go back to the normal coffee and the regular sort of coffee and trimmings and all that sort of things. But I guess like per usual, Spurs sort of release unexpected sort of news and everything on times that no one would ever expect. Things would break on a Friday late night sort of occasion. We're finding out that Naglesmann was always beneath them. So I guess skinny jean orders, like I said, could be cancelled.
Indeed. Julian Nagelsmann has said 9 to Spurs. That is my take on it, albeit the club have spun it a different way, Davo. Would you say that's a fair assessment of what you think's happened?
I mean, it's a sad night tonight because it's going to be the last time that I can use the expression, the German AVB, because he's not coming now.
Yeah,
and that saddens me hugely. I was looking forward to that skateboard whizzing through all those protesters outside the training ground of a weekend, and he probably had some hip bag that he liked to wear to work and get his laptop out, stick it on the desk, and go through his stats. So I think the word was there's a 10 million buyout for him. So I'm not sure if that's got anything to do where we've got to on the decision making. As we know, for the last accounts, 5.9 billion are interested in events that go on in the stadium, but we can't be paying out 10 million buyout for Nagelsmann, which is unfortunate. Look, I think that
if I were to quickly interrupt, by the looks of things, it seems to be down to the fact that he wanted a big say and a lot of transparency and sort of the transfer negotiations and as well as the transfer list and all that sort of stuff. And Spurs, maybe are not so keen on letting go of the purse strings in that sort of regard, or giving somebody the keys to the palace in that kind of way. And I think that's maybe what it was coming down to. By the looks of things.
Well, let's bring it back down to earth. Let's fact check this because Davo's already off with his gender. Stevie, do you think this is true? First of all, I mean, it's come from some would term club mouthpiece, Alistair Gold. Do you think that? Do you think that that's true, that Nagelsmann is out of the running? Or do you think that, there you go, Franco, right on cue. Or do you think this is just nonsense and everyone's getting in a tiz over nothing?
I mean, it's a difficult one. I think, I'd always encourage people not to get into the pre-rage state that most Tottenham fans get on Twitter when they read something out of lines to what they want to be true about the club, and they get annoyed about it. Which I never quite understand. This is coming from a lot of relatively trustworthy sources. So, there's probably some truth in it, but also some of the same sources who are saying, Nagelsmann isn't coming. Spurs never went to see him. They were never interested. But the same people who are saying Levy flew to Germany to go meet him. So I think you've got to kind of weigh up, people's history and accuracy. And mine's terrible at anything I know, so kind of discount anything I say. But I think you've got to realise that these people, journalists, are out for clicks. Not everything they say is right. But there are a lot of people. I'm sitting on a fence of this, and I'm doing a sham. But there are a lot of people reporting it. So, who knows? Who knows? No smoke without fire, right?
Well, they were seen at the airport. We can't dispute that unless there's they've got two celebrity lookalikes, and they were off to do a bar mitzvah in Germany as some kind of treat for a bar mitzvah boy to get the new director of football operations and Daniel
These
Levy.
days, though, it could be, they could have been having a layover in Frankfurt, and then they were actually just going backwards. Sometimes in the U.S., you sometimes will fly to Chicago to go to Atlanta. Like you end up passing Atlanta.
What idiot would do that?
That's what it was.
Sometimes if you're in the UK, you might
layover in Frankfurt on his way to Lisbon.
Yeah, you might fly to Ireland to Frankfurt to then go to the States, which is your actual destination. But that we're all different. We're all different. Yeah. I mean, look, Jack, your take on this brief from the club, do you think? I mean, generally speaking, well, Alistair Gold says something, and I can't remember the journo who was saying it. Was it one of the Athletic reporters? Normally, when those guys are saying stuff, they're briefed by sources inside the club, and this is the information generally that the club wants to get out there. So, is it a case of what's your take on it? I suppose I'm asking.
I think there is now probably some validity behind it. I think the fact that Ali Gold,
the police going on in the background.
I thought it'd normally be me since I'm where I am.
It's 6:11 a.m. on the lower North Shore of Sydney. It's everyone, the gangs are out. It's all kicking off.
I think it was Ali Gold that came out, and then it was somebody before Ali Gold that sort of broke the news. I think it was that guy Dan Kilpatrick, who's also who's also a sort of I wouldn't say he's always accurate, but you could say he's probably quite close to sort of the club in some regard. And then the fact that they sort of came out unanimously saying that Spurs are sort of, kind of having reservations about it. And now by the looks of things, it looks like Spurs are sort of saying that they feel like Nagelsmann needs some time, after his Bayern, spell to sort of think. And he also doesn't even have, I think, a full sort of staff available that he could pick, right away. He apparently needs a whole new sort of backroom staff and all these sort of things. So I guess there's, at first making it look like they were absolutely making, everything they could, it looked like they were doing everything, they could for Nagelsmann. And now all of a sudden they're making it look like they're too good for Nagelsmann, which is a bit confusing. Or that Nagelsmann needs to, mature. I don't know. It was a bit odd.
So if we follow the track record of 2 years ago, I reckon Nagelsmann will be in November after we lose 3-0 at home to Wolves, and they sack Brendan Rodgers.
I think it was Man United, but
I'm just looking into the future.
Feels like Wolves. That wouldn't be controversial enough. I think it's going to need to be a Man United at home again. It's going to have to be El Sakiko situation.
Looking forward to it.
No,
can't wait. Yeah, I think Solskjaer's out of work actually, Jack. So.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe Lopetegui is right. Maybe Lopetegui is a good choice for El Sakiko.
What are your thoughts, Stevie? I mean, you're close to Daniel. What's your thoughts? You share lobster and champagne sometimes. What are your thoughts? What's Gravelax? Did you say? What are your thoughts in terms of who you want in now, because it doesn't look like Nagelsmann, so let's just discount him for argument's sake. Where do you think we go? I was in an interesting group WhatsApp chat on another group that I'm in, a Spurs group earlier, and they were all sort of giving me the virtues of Ryan Mason, which I categorically said I think it will not happen. But what do you think about it? Where do you think we're at?
I mean, we could probably talk about all the players, all the managers have been linked with, and are going to be linked with for the next 4 or 5 hours. But I'm slightly growing. I'm going to say slightly before I get flamed too hard in the chat. I'm slightly growing on Mason because we've been going for the win now managers, which clearly hasn't worked.
You'll go. Hang on, rewind. Did you say you're behind Mason?
Not fully, but I mean, I'm behind Mason more than I am Rodgers. If, and this is a big if we went with Mason and we did what I've wanted a club to do for ages, which is not spend more money, but spend money better on the players that the manager wants in a position that we need strengthening. And if a club came out and went, look, our long-term strategy is to do an Arsenal, get a pretty unproven manager in, and hate to say it, we're not doing well. Well, they're doing well, so I think I don't know. I could just about get behind Mason if we did.
Get off the fence, Steve. Get off the fence. Tell me your man and nail your colours to the post. Come on.
Well, I nailed my colours to the post with a company, didn't I? And that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
I wanted company more than I wanted Naglesmann, so I wouldn't be too disappointed with Mason as long as we support him in the right way. Because let's face it, and I know I'm going to get flamed for this, but the players are playing with more passion and more courage and more conviction than they have been all season. There was no way we would have come back with Conte against United. That wouldn't have been there. We came back, and I know we were awful in defence. And I was there watching it live and wondering whether I needed to fake medical emergency so I could get out of bloody Anfield early after 15 minutes. But we came back, and I know we lost it before somebody says, we came back 3-0 down against Liverpool. We wouldn't have done that with Conte. So I do think there's a bit more belief in the club.
So you're saying Mason?
I'm saying I wouldn't be too disappointed in Mason, but I don't know who else to go for. That's my issue at the moment.
There's plenty of names. There's plenty of names out there, isn't there? Slot.
None who I think would be good or I think we'd get.
Sorry, you think?
None who I think would be good or I think we'd get.
Okay.
Why don't you think we couldn't get Slot?
Do you think he'd want to come to us?
He wants to come to the Premier League. He wants to try himself over there. He's made a real name for himself at Feyenoord. He's had to. I mean, he'd be quite good at Tottenham because he's had to deal with lots of players being sold from under his feet, and he still managed to get a good league position and do well. I mean, I think he was going to win. He was going to win the Eredivisie in the COVID season when they called it early and surprisingly awarded it to Ajax, but they were on course to win the whole thing. And he's done well. He plays exciting football. He's got a better reputation in Holland than Ten Hag. Who Ten Hag is obviously, who, as we all know, was interviewed and came across really boring as he's obviously taken United to 2 domestic cup finals and the top 4 this season. But hey ho, if we want to have Ryan Mason in, I think that given that we've got the most expensive season ticket in the Premier League and where we get to in the cheapest adult season ticket, we're the second most expensive. I'd probably look for the club to discount us. Also you, because I don't pay a season ticket, just my family do, for the forthcoming season. Because look, Ryan Mason, for me, I think that if I compare him to what the job he did 2 years ago in limited circumstances, I think he's proven. I questioned him. He goes on holiday with the Dier and Kane families and this, that, and the other, but he still dropped Dier last weekend, which I thought was a ballsy move, and I applaud him for doing it. Well, ballsy in the context of my perception of him being too close to the senior players. Yeah. And he did it. So I was impressed with that. He showed tactical flexibility. There is a pod that he was on where he talked about his whole kind of journey and the stuff that he's had, which I can't remember what it was. It was a really good pod and it comes across very well. But my advice to Ryan is to go off to a Championship or League One club, be the top person there, prove yourself. So my dream was for the German AVB to come in for 3 years, take us to glory, Then he heads off to Madrid or the German national team. Mason, in the meantime, has brought a team up into the Premier League, proved himself, comes back in, and all is well. And I think that what I would look for now, and I've always look, I obviously want the ownership to change. We all know that's not going to happen because I don't have a venture capitalist knocking around North Shore that I can talk to. So I'd like a route change. I want, we're obviously going to get a new director of football. So I'd want, and as I've said before, director of football, new coach, got to be aligned. You've got everyone playing at the youth academy level in the same way that all the way up to the first team. There's the identity, there's the culture, which Kane has called out again on this week in the club. And off we go. And, and there's no sacred cows. Whoever comes in and he says, this one's got to go or that one's got to go, and I want to get in this one, the club go, fine. Your show, mate. Off you go. That's what we've got to do.
Over 100 people watching already. Thanks for joining us tonight. 2 favours. Can you please smash that like button? We really appreciate it. And if you're not already, subscribe. It's free. Costs you nothing. Unlike our Patreon, which we'll come on to now, which is here, £3 a month. You get to look like Dave wearing the T-shirt. Exclusive content, prizes and discounts. There's a chat group, choose your merch after a qualifying period. Fantasy football, which is at its climax. There's a predictor score with Seb as well, and you get to interact with all your favourite Choose Room people all day long for £3 a month. It's the sale of the century. A couple of things. I think Rachel Martin put out a fantastic tweet. Trust member. I'm a big admirer of Ryan Mason, but why would the club offer him a permanent job if 4 weeks ago they didn't want to offer him the interim role? Fair point, Jack. And my other question to you, Jack, I'm going to come back to you. Dave, can you close your window? We've had I'm just waiting for the aeroplane to come over next. Christ almighty.
Well, you know what's coming next. That's the birds. They always tweet away as the sun rises.
Absolutely. They're all clamoring.
In your bedroom, aren't they, mate?
All right, lads. It's not 1990s. Loaded magazine. Sorry, off you go to the question to Jack.
The question to Jack is it? Do you think there's... Brilliant. Do you think we can invest in some soundproofing, Franco, if you're watching, for Dave's flat house, come whatever it is? Right, Jack, back on track. Is there only one man we need to turn to, and we need to turn his head? Obviously, he's with another club now, but ex-Tottenham, Spurs through and through, took us to our greatest, victory in living memory. Is it time to pick up the phone and call Nuno?
If only he.
Poch.
If maybe Nuno would give up his. He's gotten such a healthy pay packet from us that I don't even know if he's dried up that yet. Right? Has he even gone through that money? I wonder. Has he even spent all that money yet? And then on top of the fact that he's, I think, managing in the Saudi Pro League, that must be quite lucrative for him. I just wanted to add just a few things just quickly on what maybe David was saying, or just things that popped in my head. A lot of people sort of did complain that we weren't going after a director of football first before even going after a manager. And then it sort of felt like, at least by the tabloids and by the rumors, that we were maybe going after a manager, then going after a director of football, or maybe trying to do both at the same time, like trying to marriage them in some sort of manner. And now it's all of a sudden maybe coming across that maybe we're actually just getting a director of football first, at least in some regard, then going after a manager. So I do find this all kind of funny and confusing, because we all wanted us to do kind of that original thing, which was to get a director of football first, have the director of football be picking the manager and be leading the manager search and be doing the negotiations, not Daniel Levy, because ultimately we do know that the guy who's been probably talking to Naglesmann, or hasn't been talking to Naglesmann, so to speak, has been Daniel Levy this whole time. And that's why people wanted that director of football in the first place, was that theoretically that meant that Daniel Levy would probably not play as much of a part in the negotiations. So I think if we end up getting director of football by, let's say, Monday, which would be, very soon for Spurs standards, in their regard, but I think we would probably, at least be in a much better track, where then at least the managers were approaching, at least hopefully the director of football is approaching them, not actually Daniel Levy in that regard. And then also, I do feel like there's a ton of managers out there that we can technically go for. I mean, yes, Julian Nagelsmann looked like one of the best candidates, on paper, but there's still plenty of guys that I think are also quite, young, also can wear hoodies, also enjoy a nice soy milk latte. That are kind of the new young guard of like Ruben Amorim, and I know he probably is quite reluctant to come here, but Arne Slot's again, he technically, for what you would say, he's somebody who's not like really that experienced. But if you were only managing for 3 to 4 years, or I'm not sure how long he's managed, but let's say it's been the 3 to 4 years that I think he's done quite a lot in the time that he's done. He's won Feyenoord, the league, and whatever it's been, like 15 plus years, could even be more than that. Again, I'm not very knowledgeable in that case, but he's also taken them to that Conference League final, at the first ever Conference League. But again, I don't know if anybody expected Feyenoord to all of a sudden be the finalist against the likes of Jose. I think everybody first probably expected us, which is embarrassing, but then they probably expected some other team, like, to show up there before, Feyenoord as well. And considering that, like, he's doing the best job he can with how little experience he has, I just feel like there's so many guys that even have 2 to 3 more years experience than even a Ryan Mason does, that I think are just far more capable of the job and are probably far more willing to take on the job. I think what it is difficult is that it's a messy job, and you're going to have to definitely get your hands dirty, and it's not exactly a cakewalk in what you're walking into either. So I think that's what's tough. My last thing is that even Ryan Mason, like, I don't even know if he's had as much experience as an assistant manager before even Arteta took over the job at Arsenal. Wasn't Arteta like alongside Pep for like quite a long time before he even took over the job at Arsenal? And that was also, again, like a huge risk. Everybody saw it. And Arteta, my biggest worry is that even when Arteta took the job, it looked like he was sort of learning on the go kind of guy, and I don't want to see that happen to Ryan Mason. I think that's a sad thing to happen to maybe a guy that doesn't need to go through that, where he's like sort of learning on the go with a huge job like Spurs. That just seems unfair to him in my belief. It just seems really unfair. So I don't want that either.
I think you want, basically what we want really is a pre-Poch. So we want
I'd rather a different sacrificial lamb for the job. I'd rather a different sacrificial lamb. I don't want Brian Mason.
Yeah, we want a Southampton Poch, because I think Poch started off with the Newell Old Boys, I think it was, coached there. Then he went over to Spain and he coached the other team in Barcelona. It begins with the letter E. I can't remember. Sorry, that's the one. And then your top quality insight here. And then obviously Southampton for a year and a half. Where he was with Paul Mitchell, and they had some very good recruitment. It all lined up, and it was all good. And then he came to us, because let's not forget we were in for Louis van Gaal at the time, but Louis van Gaal turned us down for Manchester United, so we avoided another one there. So that's what we're looking for, and I think Slot is someone who I think would be the equivalent for me. Thomas Frank, potentially Zerbi as well.
Dave, can I ask you a poignant question?
Poignant, okay.
Or a pointed question, probably. Why don't we just go back in for Poch? The man wants to work for Spurs. Spurs fans love him. I don't.
Yeah, what if we pull a Mudryk? You know what Chelsea did, where they flew to Ukraine before Arsenal did. What if wherever Poch is, play there first?
Probably drop Chelsea and come back to Spurs. He'd be even more of a hero if he did that, right? At least till we lose a few games anyway. Is that not the sensible solution here, Dave?
I sent you've put out a poignant or pointed fishing line in my direction here, and I respect you.
Get a beer while you answer.
You go and get your gherkin or whatever it is you do.
You should left me alone with it.
Beer. You can tick that off your bingo card, Steve.
Well done. Do I want Poch back? No, I don't want Poch back. Very rarely in football, in the world of coaching and managers, that someone going back for a second time, it works out. I can only think of Zidane at Madrid, but that's obviously different circumstances there. I've been pointed out a couple of occasions where managers have gone back and it's worked out well. More often than not, it hasn't. And the thing about the clamour for Poch, if Poch had gone off in the last 2 to 3 years and he'd won a trophy somewhere, I know he won the La Ligue not the league, Ligue 1, my apologies. With PSG, if he'd gone off and shown that in the Madrid Champions League game, when I think they were up at one point, he managed the game effectively to win a crucial game with his in-game management, then I'd have said, yeah, let's bring him back. Let's show that he's developed. I think that a lot of people, particularly my friend in Brooklyn, likes to put all the transfer debacle on Mr. Hitchin, but I think that Poch signed off on. He definitely signed off on Sanchez, and he was involved in some of those players. I think he wanted Ndombele, and I definitely reckon he wanted Lo Celso. So I think that it's not all on Hitchin, and I think his ability to do well in the transfer market is not so great. He was at his best when Mitchell was there, and him coming back. It's a complete reaction to the Conte, to the Mourinho. That's how we are. We react to what's gone on behind in the previous managers. And we want to come back, and he's going to him coming back, the person who was sacked by the current ownership in the first place, is going to come back and unify the club and align the ownership that sacked him with the supporters, which I just find a bit disingenuous, to say the least. So I don't want Poch back. I'm not saying that I don't respect the job that he did for managers of a certain generation, for supporters of a certain generation who started supporting the club under Sugar and forwards. He's probably the greatest manager that they've been in their supporting lifetime. He wasn't the greatest supporting manager in my supporting lifetime. And I respect him. He did a great job, but I don't want him back. If he goes off for 3 years, like Mason's going to do, go off to League One, the Championship, and bring it up a team to the Premier League. If Poch had gone off for the last 3 years, shown that he can win big games, win a big trophy and stuff like that, show his in-game management's good, yeah, I'd have him back. I just don't think he's kicked on as
Real Madrid.
I just don't think he's kicked on as a coach. And I find it a bit weird that United turned him down for Erik ten Hag. He's gone for other big jobs the last 3 or 4 years. He hasn't got it, and I think that he will be announced at Chelsea. And then everyone's going to get in a real Twitter frenzy that he's some kind of Judas because he's going to Chelsea. We didn't offer him the job; he's gone somewhere else. I don't see what the problem is.
Well, it's a bit sickening, though, isn't it, if he wins something with Chelsea? But having said that, that is a big if. I mean, it would be a test of Poch's managerial skill if he could get a tune out of 31 players. Franco
Given how Chelsea are going, he's got a good chance of winning promotion from a championship.
Too soon for Poch. Him going to Chelsea's upsetting, though. Sets up lots of Spursy scenarios for the future. Yeah, probably does.
I mean, if Poch goes to Chelsea and he does win those trophies, and he does, show that
you'd have him back, and then we would have employed another ex-Chelsea manager.
No, but the fact of the matter is, if he goes to Chelsea and he wins trophies, it's yet another damning indictment of the ownership of this club.
Yeah, well, and then you will have your narrative, Dave. In your fantasy land, where Levy sells the club tomorrow to some multi-billionaire who's squeaky clean, and wants to pump $1 billion into playing staff, do you then give Poch the job back if he's been to Chelsea, done all right?
So
in the hypotheticals,
are we in the hypotheticals? Who would I want if? No, I wouldn't. Still wouldn't give it because I wouldn't trust him with. Oh, he's won trophies at Chelsea. So the scenario is we've got a multi-billionaire, whatever, who has no human rights abuses or nothing going on down Argentina.
Nice yacht. He's got a nice yacht and an art collection. Lives in Barbados, but yeah,
right. No property development issues down in Patagonia way in Argentina either. And hires special consultants for the London Stadium bid. If we get someone in who's squeaky clean, and then Poch has won the Champions League with Chelsea, and he's shown his in-game management's fantastic, then yeah, bring him back in. Why not?
Jack, what are we drinking this afternoon, evening, wherever it is there?
Very cheap. It's from very, I apologize to anybody. I mean, I don't know, I shouldn't disrespect them too much, but it's in Rochester, New York, which I don't think is a great place up in upstate New York, which is closer to Toronto, Canada than it even is to Manhattan. They make a very cheap beer, which I'm drinking. It's called Genesee Cream Ale. It's like a pale ale. Very cheap.
Sounds all right.
I put it in a glass because because I'm a good boy, I put it in a glass in the freezer until about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Tasty, like me. A lover of ale. Cheaper
I thought
than
you were
ale.
saying that you were tasty for a minute. So just
I mean, it's been said, but by blind people mainly. Okay, let's go around the room then. Who's going to be the next manager then? So I just want to know what you think is going to happen, not what you want to happen, because I want them to go back and get Naglesmann. It's not going to happen. Davo, I'm going to go to you first. Of all the names available, who do you think will end up with the job if you're Daniel Levy? I know that's a scary thought for you to be Daniel Levy, but
so if I'm Daniel Levy right now, obviously I'd be selling the club. Is what I want to happen. I can see Rogers, not Rogers. I can see Mason.
Let us know in the chat, by the way, but what you think, guys.
I can see Mason or anyone who doesn't have a buyout clause and you don't have to pay any compensation.
Yeah.
So anyone like that, that's who he'll get, because that's how he rolls.
I kind of want Rodgers to get it just to see HG's head explode. But anyway, that's by the by. Steve, your shout?
So who do I think?
Who do you think it'll be? I mean, you've said, are you sticking or twisting? You've sort of put your colours on Mason, haven't you?
No. I said I wouldn't be too disappointed in Mason. I didn't say I think it would be Mason. I think it'd probably be Alonso.
Okay. Yeah, he's the bookie's favourite now, isn't he? Having one season in football management. Brilliant.
Although, to be fair, 24 hours ago, Naglesmann was the bookie's favourite. So
I don't think the bookies know anything, to be honest. But there you go.
it just goes up and down of where people are putting money.
So Alonso's only experience has been this season at Leverkusen. He never coached Barcelona B or nothing like that. That's it.
I can't say that with 100% degree.
No, that's a genuine question.
Who are you saying? Which manager? Alonso or Nagelsmann?
Alonso.
He coached Sociedad B, I think is what I'm told, and then he took over the Leverkusen job. What I would quickly say about Alonso is he's one of the many so-called Pep disciples, which everybody's so quickly to scramble and get after. The other thing though is that if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked the Bundesliga table, he could finish maybe as high as like third, but the manager that he took over from finished third and made Patrick Schick look like one of the best strikers in Europe and everything. So he wouldn't really be, at the end of the day, doing much better unless he made it to Europa League final. He wouldn't be doing much better than what the previous manager was doing. And I mean, I don't think anybody if I'm going to do a test here, knows who the previous Leverkusen manager was. I think it's just the fact that his name is
it's his face, isn't it? That one.
So I think the fact that if you judge him by his predecessor, he's doing as well as his predecessor did, and then his predecessor in his following season didn't do very well. So I think what I would do with Xabi Alonso is I would wait till he does the following season, then maybe take a look at him, if even, I think, because he's only been a job for so long. On Ryan Mason, quickly though, I feel like he needs to first of all win this game against Aston Villa before he even gets considered for the job.
We're going to come to that, Jack. So we'll talk about
I know,
that.
but I think if he is being considered at all by the club, if there is any sort of consideration for him, surely they must be thinking at the end of the season, we'll judge how he does. It shouldn't be they're already thinking Ryan Mason ball, we're all in. That would be a bit silly.
Gerardo Sioni was his predecessor.
I do not understand our fan base sometimes. I've seen so many people saying, just give it Mason, just give it. Now, whether it's because people are just so pissed off that they're just thinking, just give it someone. No, what they're basing it on is where the money's going, like Steve said, isn't it? But I think, to me, at least, I just think that Mason would be an absolutely batshit crazy appointment, and it just won't happen. It's fantasy land, absolute fantasy land.
It's like sacking the first team coach and appointing his assistant and retaining the whole coaching team for the rest of the season. That
I
kind of
genuinely-
batshit crazy.
Nobody would do that.
Even when Arsenal appointed Arteta, I think they were in a much worse position when they appointed Arteta than we are right now. I think it's like because ultimately we were in the Champions League last season with Conte, to go from that sort of position and then in the following season to throw all your money on 32 black, like at a roulette. It just, I don't know. It just seems way too sort of like high roller. It seems way too high roller.
It's bizarre.
Just nonsensical.
So that being the case, I'm guessing your money's not on Mason, Jack.
Like I said, I think you asked me after how he does at the end of the season, and then I would probably believe
It's only
that the
3
club,
games, though.
but even that, I believe the club could be delusional enough to consider him if he wins all the rest of his games. I believe if he gets them into Europa League, I would believe that the club could consider him, for the job.
Oh, Europa, not conference. If he gets us in the conference,
Even Conference League, I think they are crazy enough to consider him. I'm not kidding. But if he fails to get Conference League, I don't think he's being considered at all. But
The
I do believe
Conference
there's a
League.
chance he's in the list. I do believe there's a chance.
How we've fallen.
He's had a lot of quotes as well about like the club. He's quickly criticized the principles and the standards. He's speaking quite freely right now. He seems a confident guy. So I don't know. I'm a little worried.
Jack, who do you think it's going to be?
If I were to throw my money on a certain candidate, I would say it's going to be Arne Slot or maybe a potential.
No, you only have one.
Slot. I'm going to say it's Slot.
So we've got Slot. Stevie, who did you say? Are you awake? You're right. I need to send the.
He's watching Friends on Channel 4.
The virtual cattle prod over there.
He's watching Rachel and Monica. He's not bothered about us anymore.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So Stevie's saying Alonso, if I remember rightly. Is that right? Yep. And Dave, what did you say? It's that long ago. I've forgotten.
So the same with me. I've forgotten as well. I reckon it will be if Mason gets us into the Conference League, the European egg and spoon race of European football. It's like those prizes kids get at school for just turning up and participating. The Good Effort Award. Then Mason they'll go for Mason because there's no logic. Levy's got no credibility in making football decisions, and it'll be Mason.
I think they should rename it to the Conference of Champions. It might be a bit more, exciting, kind of like the Cup Winners' Cup, but it's the Conference of Champions.
The Conference of Triers.
But it's like the Everton Cup, But in the Premier League, it's who wins the Everton Cup, who wins 7th or 8th.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that it's gonna be, and you're gonna hate this. You're going to absolutely hate this. Brendan Rodgers.
No.
Not who I want, who I think we'll end up with. Just because I know Levy has admired him previously. He's available. He's won an FA Cup recently. So he can clearly get average teams over the line, which is, we're pretty average right now. And more to the point, if that happened, I think HG's head would turn from pink to purple very quickly, and it would be glorious to watch him explode and self-combust. I think it would be hilarious. So I'm going to say...
The only thing about Rodgers is that so we're led to believe that he was going to come to Tottenham from Swansea.
Yeah.
The deal was done. I think that was Redknapp's final season, and and Levy was led to believe that Rodgers was coming. And then Liverpool, waved their finger in his direction, and he went there. And Levy's ego wasn't happy about it. So, and Levy never forgets. Don't forget.
I just think it'd be quite funny, really. I don't want Brendan Rodgers. The person I want, none of you will want. Graham Potter, get Potter in, Potterball. What could be better than that? See, you're all shaking your head, you doubters.
Well, he'd be the one manager to somehow get Spurs to not score goals. I feel like he'd be the real test because, Jose had us, near top of the league with, even Conte when he was sacked, we were third in the league when it came to goals scored this season. We were third in the league, and I really doubt Graham Potter would have been third in the league. Let's just say that, in that state. So he'd be a guy that would be a real funny test to see if he could complain or talk about having Sonny, Kane, Kulusevski, Richarlison, Danjuma, all these sort of players, and then end with the game losing 1-0 and talk about that we won an XG, like something like that.
Matt, you absolutely should, yeah. You should do that. Does anyone not think that there might be some legs in Glasner taking the job? I believe he's leaving Frankfurt at the end of the season. Jack, you'll know this more than the other two, I think. He's a much admired manager, is he not?
I don't as much. I think what he did for Frankfurt was like unbelievable. At the end of the day, like Frankfurt is a huge club, like in the Bundesliga. They are absolutely massive. And winning the Europa League in that sort of manner, no one expected them to do it. And they were like towards the end of the tournament, like practically looking like one of the best teams in that sort of tournament. And he wasn't exactly a huge plethora of players that he had to choose from or a huge plethora amount of talent. But I would say is that his Bundesliga form with Frankfurt is a bit sketchy. I would say maybe his better times, if I recall, were when he was with Wolfsburg, which is that, other sort of kind of, I mean, they always sort of compete in and around the Champions League, Europa League spot, Wolfsburg, but he did maybe a bit better with them than he even did with Frankfurt. So in the league, he wasn't exactly all that convincing. So I'm not fully convinced on Glasner. He is Austrian though, so maybe HG might like that. Not sure. Maybe then he means he knows too much about him and then probably doesn't like him, I imagine.
I see.
Doesn't he?
Welcome to Matt. So pleased you've joined us, Matt, friend of the show. We'd love to have you back on soon as well. Stop moonlighting with Last Word on Spurs. Come back to the cheese room.
Stop hanging out with Anthony Costa from Blue and hang out with the cool kids like ourselves. Definitely
more cool than Anthony Costa. Interestingly, the most hilarious thing I've seen all day is that Jose Mourinho is 66-1 to come back to Spurs, which is quite funny because
get him in there.
Literally never happened. Okay.
So how many days is it now since Conte left? So how many days are we now out without a permanent first team coach now?
I read somewhere earlier. I think I'm right in saying it's 47. I might be slightly out, but I think it's in that ballpark. 40.
And how are we faring when?
This is Nuno.
Yeah,
that was 72 days. I think I'm right in saying.
So we could beat it. Another club record.
54 days.
There we go.
Well, it could be another club record. You never know. Who knows? You're hoping that it will be a little bit slicker this time. But last question on the management search: what comes first for you, director of football or the manager? Because to me, a big problem for any manager coming in, as has been widely commented on social media, is who they're going to be working for. Davo.
Look, I think, the discussion that takes place is that the director of football is a very important role because it provides another layer in theory against Levy making any footballing decisions. But the fact that, he appointed Scott Munn, who then will appoint the football director, Levy will have a say in that. And we know that Levy's got no judgment in making any football related appointments. So it's important, but leaving that problem aside, it is important because you want them lined up. We know in our club's history that Kamoli came in after Arneson, didn't get on with Yol, and that was the beginning and end of that one. Levy, obviously being a huge Tottenham fan since childhood, didn't realise that if you have Pape as a director of football and Hoddle as the first team coach, they didn't get on very well when Pape was the first team manager. But Levy, with his knowledge and history of the club since childhood, would have known that. So it is important. And I think that it may well be the case at the moment Nagelsmann's not coming or whatever, because as he's apparently said, I want to know who the director of football is first. And he hasn't lined that up. So let's get the director of football in first, I agree, and then get the coach in. But you've got to do it quickly now because the window will open, June, is it June the 1st or whatever?
12th for June.
Yeah, and we've got Ocean's 13 coming back from on loan. So we need to sort all that out as well. So there's a lot of work to do. So we need a director of football. I'd like Michael Edwards. That's not going to happen. Apparently, they're looking at the Brentford director of football. All the reports in the papers are just, I'd like to get someone in who doesn't want to isn't seen ostentatiously by the side of the pitch with his earpiece wire and just gets on with it and is not under investigation by any footballing authority. Point
I think I'm losing the line to Australia there, which is a relief because there's no ambulance. I was waiting for the comment when all the sirens were going off that
I was so tempted.
you need to jump out the window and chase that ambulance.
Very tempted.
Reply to me right now. There you go. Arne Summit is the director that brought Slot to Feyenoord. I did not know that, Matt. So that is very interesting. And Paddy, Naglesmann, and Ragnick would have been a good partnership. I think it really would be.
I agree.
Oh, he's back! He's back! Hi, Dave.
Hey,
NBN in Australia is shit. Anyway, carry on.
Did you hear the ambulance jibe?
Wow, what happened? What was I didn't. What was
No,
said?
no, nothing at all. Nothing at all. Yeah. So very quickly round the room, who do you want to be the next DOF? Dave.
How many I reckon. How many? Can you name like 10 DOFs? Anyway, I reckon Jack could.
I don't think after 2 very cheap beers I could. Maybe more kind of mid-afternoon after a nice lunch with Stevie, I probably could. Maybe name 10 DOFs. I'm not sure at this moment in time.
Let's do it quick fire though, because
what I would say, just to make a more intelligent point. Make a more intelligent point. We are after supposedly a guy named Tiago Pinto, who's I guess responsible right now for Roma. I know nothing about him, but what I would say is that the Portuguese over in the Primeira Liga have been absolutely milking the Premier League when it comes to the money that we've been spending on some of their players. And for the most part, some of the most talented players of recent have been coming out of the Primeira Liga in Portugal. So if he has any connections there / knows any talented 16-year-olds in Brazil / Portugal, not a bad appointment, I would say, at all. Just assuming that he has those sort of types of connections, and that's what the type he is. And that's a very basic sort of comment, and I'm assuming a lot. What I would rather have is that if we did still pursue, a guy from the Bundesliga or somebody like a Glasner or somebody like a Nagelsmann, I prefer we go after some sort of RB Red Bull kind of linked, kind of a director of football or talent scout or something. Possible
with Scott Munn, obviously, because he moves in those circles, doesn't he?
I actually just again quickly the benefit of maybe having a Scott Munn is if he is in here to sort of potentially build some sort of roadmap to where we can have clubs that are sort of clubs we either loan players to / we can kind of develop players at that we have these sort of strong connections with, like City Group do, like Red Bull Group do. That's not a bad idea at all. It's where we could have sent like a Tanganga. It's where we could have sent a Jed Spence. It's where we can send a Bryan Hill Messi and those sort of players to develop and go on.
47 minutes in, it's the first mention.
Oh, too long. Too long. Itching.
Okay. Let's move things forward. And let's talk about the game. So we've got Villa versus Spurs this weekend. Last time out, they played Wolves and lost 1-0 in apparently the Caller hometown derby. My run sheet is telling me El Corlico. Not sure about that, Dave. Not your best work. But Steve found it very amusing. So
I enjoyed it.
This is how they're looking like they'll line up. Some good players and Ashley Young in that starting 11. Jack, are you surprised at how much Goody Benin has managed to turn them around this season?
Not at all, really. I think Steven Gerrard wasn't a great manager. I think he had a lot of investment that he received and didn't do a whole lot with it. He didn't really even ever really knew what his best 11 was, but he was like 6, 7 months, 8 months into the job, which was a bit concerning. And other sort of concerning elements as well when it came to his style of play. Like I couldn't tell you what Steven Gerrard's style of play was. It even felt like after like a year of him being there too. Whereas Unai Emery is a bit like a Guardiola, where he's very sort of, how would you put it, where he's just sort of always manipulating the tactics. He's very sort of meticulous with every single fine detail of every element of the game. And he's very good at sort of taking what can be an average side and getting the best out of him. Even that Villarreal side from, his team last season went past Bayern Munich and they made it all the way to the semifinals. So I'm not surprised actually at all. And considering he's only had 1 game a week, a lot of managers seem to benefit from having 1 game a week. I mean, De Zerbi's also benefited from having 1 game a week. I think Thomas Frank has benefited from having 1 game a week in that regard too. But what I would say though is that what he's done that maybe Steven Gerrard didn't do is he's kind of gone for what Frank Lampard is doing, which is throwing every single possible central midfielder he can onto the pitch. But it seems to sort of work for him, where he really overloads the midfield. He's got McGinn in there, Luis, Jacob Ramsey. I think Buendia, for the most part, is a creative midfielder. And then he also had, I believe, before he even threw in Bertrand Traore, there was another sort of it was Dendoncker. He had like Dendoncker in there as well. So he had just had a ton of midfielders that he just threw in there. And also against Spurs, he showed that he can mix it up. In certain games, he can dominate the ball and take it to teams like Villa, or not Villa. He can take it to teams like Newcastle. But then against Spurs, he threw every man and his dog behind the ball against us. It was like some horrible sort of formation he set up with, and it was really defensive, really negative, and it absolutely ruined us. So he's a tricky guy. I think that good evening, man.
Good evening. Yeah, I would agree with that. And this is what's going to scare the pants off you, Davo. Here is their form guide. So look at this. Quite strong, beaten Chelsea. Everyone's beaten them. Beaten Leicester. No, everyone's beaten them. Beat Forest. Yeah. Newcastle. Good win in there. 3-0. A draw against Brentford. Beat Fulham, and then obviously lost to Man United and Wolves. So they're on, before the last two matches, their form was excellent. And worrying. Now this is the real worry. They're very good at home. So they've won the last 5, not conceded a goal. Is anyone stupid enough to travel away to Villa Park to watch this? Anyone on the panel, maybe?
We do have a better attack than all those teams. Those are not any of those teams, bar Newcastle, do not have exactly stellar attacks. I mean, he has a very good defensive setup.
Oh, come on, hit the like button, people. Let's get that up to 100 likes, please.
When you say that we've got the better attacks than the other teams, that's two players, as in Son and Kane. So Son's
we're still 4th in the league, or 3rd in the league for most goals scored. So I don't really care who it is at the end of the day. Like, we're still 4th or 3rd in the league and the goals scored, then that's going to still come into play going against Aston Villa. It doesn't really matter who scores all those goals. I mean, that guy, one of those two is going to be available if both of those guys are going to be available. So that's what they're going to have to deal with. And those two have kept us up in that way. And they always have kept us up. And most teams have always had to deal with those guys. And even though what is it now? I think we're like 5th most goals conceded in the league. We're like down with the likes of Leicester. We're still 3rd or 4th most goals scored. So it's Aston Villa will be dealing with a better attack.
Becky's going. Steve's going. Very disappointed with the hospitality, Steve. What's the problem with the hospitality at Villa Park? Can you tell us?
No open bar. You only get free tea and coffee.
Really?
Halftime drink orders? Halftime drink orders?
Not even cup of tea at halftime, I think.
Have you let the fan rep on the board know about this, Steve?
I will do when they're appointed, which is your entire point. So
the one that was promised 2 years ago, that one.
Spending too much time on buying players.
Bingo card. Yep. Fan rep. That's on there.
Well, the German AVB's gone. I haven't got anything less to say. I've only got one more to say.
I think what I'm going to do before the show next week is tweet out a Davo bingo card so that people who can watch this on Catchbook can just mark it off as they go. I think it'd be brilliant entertainment.
I know you're going to be upset by this piece of news. It's very unlikely I'll be on the show next Friday. The dad Uber driver will be.
Don't worry, I've got Stevie Bingo lined up as well. It's fine.
Steve, when was the last time you went to? Steve, when was the last time you went to Villa Park?
Never been.
All right,
never been.
It'll be Boston for you, I'm sure.
No, this is the second time I'll be in Birmingham this week. And I've only ever been twice before.
So
For obvious
just
reasons.
to scare you slightly, here is our away form. Yeah, I see Becky's going as well. Enjoy this, Becky and Steve. So lost to Liverpool, lost to Newcastle. Oh, forget about that one. 2 draws, and then lost to Wolves, lost to Sheffield United, lost to Midland, and lost to Leicester, thumped against Leicester. So are you still looking forward to tomorrow? Villa, last home 5 wins on the bounce, and we've not won a game since February.
So can we just, because I think Becky's watching and get even to Becky. So which of those games did Becky go to?
Is she the problem?
Well, she went to Liverpool. She
Becky,
went to
don't
Newcastle.
Don't go, Becky. Don't go.
Did she go? I don't think she went to Everton because she can't go at midweek matches because obviously it's literally a school night, as in literally for her. So I think that might be an issue. But as you said, we haven't won since Fulham. And in the season, we got the Champions League final. We didn't win a away game all season after Fulham in January. So we are going to get. It's not looking good. I think we're going to get absolute. It's likely that we're going to get spanked, really, aren't we? Yeah, we go.
Yeah.
And Becky's going and Steve's going. So, Steve, have you actually seen us win a game away ever?
I have.
Which was?
Last season. And Southampton, wasn't it?
No, I think the last time I saw us win away.
Not Southampton.
19. Shit, I think it was it 94 or 95, I think, when we went.
Oh my God.
We won away, I think it was 2-0 or 2-1 to Ipswich Town.
Jesus Christ.
Right,
that's a ringing endorsement. Will you be wearing your Stone Island jacket tomorrow and having it large?
I don't have a Stone Island jacket, so no.
No. Jack, tell me something positive. How are we likely to line up under Mason?
I hope he sticks with Porro and Emerson and some.
There we are, by the way. That's the league position. So.
If it's possible for him to stick with the back 4, I maybe think he could do it. But the worry is that Aston Villa, of course, are a much better team than Crystal Palace. And I think with the form of some of their players like Ollie Watkins, that is a real test for that back 4. Whereas Longley and Romero looked very competent without Eric Dier next to them. I do think they need a real test in comparison to really actually test how they do. But I am curious to see if he sticks with this back 4 in some way, because I think we know that Ryan Mason wants to go to a back 4. He seems like he's that sort of guy. But is he willing to take that risk again? And is he willing to stick with basically, for the most part, the same 11? I haven't been able to catch up on the press conference. Do you know if Longley is fit? Do we know? Anybody? Longley?
I didn't set my alarm for the middle of the night to watch the press conference on Levy Vision.
If Longley is fit and available, I could imagine he sticks with the back 4 because he didn't look too keen to bring in Eric Dier, and he has dropped him. So if he wants to,
the answer, Jack, is oui.
Bon.
Très bien. Le fit. It looks like the chances are positive he will have an involvement. That's harsh, Matt Hayes. That is harsh.
I think it's a real test for him, though, regardless of where we stand. I know Davo really enjoys Matt Hayes' comment, but I think Longley. It's a real test for him. If he can play and get another good performance alongside Romero in a back 4 with Emerson, that's a real test for tomorrow. So. That's what I would say. But if he sticks with the same lineup for the most part, I'd be happy. But Bissouma is available. Should he go to a 3-man midfield? Maybe. Or could he consider dropping a Skipp or a Hojbjerg? I'd advise that because I don't think the Hojbjerg and Skipp partnership has been that great thus far. So I think he should either add an extra person in there or take one of them away and put in Bissouma because Bissouma looks fit and available. But I would say the big key is keep Pedro, Porro, and Emerson together. They seem to be a good fit. And Porro, at the end of the day, is producing the goods. He's getting assists and goals.
Porro is the player that Emery has said they need to stop to stand a chance of beating Spurs. So that'll be an interesting one. What's the plan this year? Get Matty Cash to do another number on a Spurs player? Huh?
Well, he's back, isn't he? Matty Cash is back.
He is, yeah, ready to kick someone up in it. Wasn't it him who took Doherty out last season? Yeah, filthy animal. Filthy. Give him some jip, Steve. Give him some jip.
That's because Stevie G, before the game last season, said he wanted the players to be more physical, looking for a reaction from a game and this, that, and the other. And that challenge by Cash was a disgrace. But of course, no commentary about that in the media afterwards because it's all a Liverpool loving. So there we go.
He plays for Villa, though, not Liverpool, just to be really clear.
What Stevie G I'm talking about, just to be clear. Deary me.
I got it, Dave. I got it. Tell you what, Paula, though, some positivity.
I want positivity.
I may not have seen us win since 19.
Are you still trying to work it out now?
I am. I'm going to have to go.
I'm waiting for where the positivity starts and the negativity finishes.
I'm taking the two nieces tomorrow, and they have never seen us lose a game live, ever.
Okay, well, good.
How many games have they been to?
Not many, but
can it counteract all of those defeats?
To be fair, they've probably been to about 8 or 9 games. So
I'm sure they'll enjoy the tea and free tea and coffee and squash, and maybe
no, they have to pay for those. Remember?
No,
the tea is
squash,
free. Yeah, the tea
not
is free.
squash.
Maybe complimentary faggots and peas at half time. I would imagine, given that you're in Birmingham. Faggots and peas. It's a delicacy.
Okay. So can we just look at the? Can we just have a quick discussion about the karma ecosystem inside that stadium for the game? We've got Becky, who I'd like to know from Becky the last time she was at an away game that we won. You've got Diver, who's looking back to when Jimmy Greaves was playing for us, but the last time he saw an away game. But we've got the nieces to counteract that. If there's anyone else who's going in the chat and they've seen us win away recently, and Jack, can I ask you a question? You were at a game on your trip. When was the game that you went to? We lost, didn't we? I think.
I technically have never seen Spurs lose. I've seen 3 games in my lifetime. I've seen us beat Villa at home, or not Villa. Why do I keep? We spoke about Villa 1,000 times. That's why. I've seen us beat West Ham at home 3-1 in the last season under Conte, and then this season I saw us probably play a game where 2 teams of football, or 2 teams did not even decide to play football. That was AC Milan and Tottenham, and then on then the following weekend we played Nottingham Forest, which was an okay win. I got to see Hugo on the bench, which was nice.
We'll get on.
I got to see Fraser Forster thrown into the lineup instead, which made my experience a bit better. But technically undefeated, but I did have to endure Tottenham versus AC Milan at home, which was
that's not nice.
And you haven't got to do an away game yet, Jack, right?
No, I have not. No, I haven't.
I think I missed you on that occasion, sadly, Jack. I was supposed to be there, and then the last minute I wasn't, which is a real shame.
And well,
Becky hasn't been to Leicester, so maybe Becky and I.
My last away game, I'm into one this season, so it would be last year at Leicester City. Yes.
And what happened there then?
Well brought in, Dave. Don't think I'm naive to what you're doing. We won. That's what happened. It was great, and I managed to watch it via satellite link on John's phone on the walk back to the car.
Sorry, Davo. I've Googled 30th of August 1994 was when I last saw us win away.
Right, so that's Santini was the manager, and I think it was Newcastle. Timothy Atuba. Was that what happened? No, you didn't get.
No, it was Ipswich Town.
So Santini was the coach. Oh no, 94. Sorry, no.
94?
That's
not Santini.
Who the hell? That's not that's Ozzy Ardiles.
Yeah, it would have been Ozzy. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, that's the famous 5 because he got sacked in October.
Oh, okay.
Blimey.
Basically, we had a team of 5 defenders and 5 forwards, and just no midfield.
Yeah, Colin Calderwood was the defensive midfielder.
I think my first Spurs game was 92-93. Lineker was playing, so maybe 92. And
that's 91-92. That would have been.
It was at Villa Park. I went and see Spurs Villa away.
In the cup? Was it at the cup?
I don't know. I just vaguely remember my dad taking me to Villa Park and watching Lineker.
Well, if it's January.
Oh bloody hell! Don't get up too cross-examining. I don't know the dates.
No, if it was the cup, it was January at 92 it was 0-0,
Could have
and Lineker was playing, and
Yeah.
I went to that.
Walker was in goal. Was he in Walker in goal, or was it Torsfed? I can't remember.
Might have been. It was a bit of a crossover time. Anyway,
Either way, I mean, it's
either way.
Either way. Right. Big questions now. Big questions, guys. So Villa, Decky, do you start him or do you play Richarlison? Steve?
Richarlison.
Okay, that was short and sweet. Jack?
I think Decky's been given 1,000 chances to sort of recover his form, and I mean he's a young kid. He will probably pick it up next season, but I think you give Richarlison as continue to give him more games, continue to give him more chances. Yeah, and like I said before, Pedro Porro, keep him in there, deserves a spot. However you fit him in there.
I think
Jack
H. I think is trying to. I think he's singing a Proclaimers song or something like that in the chat. But more power to him. Good on you, mate. Decky, I think he's been absolutely pony this season, and lots of people going, well, he's only young, give him a chance. He's been under the tyranny of Conte. But, Son, obviously the narrative of Son is since Conte's gone, he's playing a lot better. So why haven't we seen the same with Decky? So, if we had the midfielders to do it, I'd stick 3 in the middle tomorrow. I don't think Bissouma's going to do 90 minutes. So I'd probably stick to what we picked for the Palace game. But we're going to get overrun. I mean, I'd love to see Hojbjerg drop, but that's not going to happen.
No, flappy hands is a cert pick. Okay. Big questions now. Predictions. Davo, your prediction?
Respect to King Hoddle. I like that. Nice one. I think
that's what we say over on the Irish Hotspur, the Poronator, and if you're a member of the Porro Nation.
I like it.
Anil Messi.
And also, are you a Pedro Porro prisoner? Because that's what Tim Sherwood, in response, Pedro Porro said, "This is my world. This is my prison." And in my belief, Davo, that this is just Pedro. This is just Pedro's prison. We're inside it. This is the world, and it's Pedro's prison.
Yeah, I love that comment as well, especially against Sherwood. Right? Unfortunately, I think. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna get a 1-0 away victory, and we're gonna score in the last minute. And everyone's going to be very upset.
You're thinking we're going to keep a clean sheet?
No, I don't. We're going to lose about 3-1.
I mean, let's just look at that away form again.
Yeah, we're going to lose 3-1. You got Diver in the stadium. You got Becky. The offset of the nieces. I just don't think, from a karma point of view, it's going to happen. We're going to lose 3-1. Sorry.
Tea and coffee. That means he'll be sober as well. Yeah, you're probably right. Jack, score prediction?
While I tried to defend our attack and say that they've done their part thus far this season, let
us know your score predictions in the comments.
I think they're going to find it a tough time. I could see this being a very high scoring game, actually. So I'm going to say 3-2 or 3-1. I just hope Spurs are on the end of that 3-1 or that 3-2. That's what I'll say. I just hope. But I could see, like I said, I could see Spurs scoring. I could see Spurs scoring.
Okay, Stevie, come on then. Hit me with it.
Oh, I've been wanting to hit you for a while, mate. So I'm going to be scientific. So I'm an accountant. I like my numbers and like my science. So I'm going. Therefore, we're going to concede 1 goal.
Yes, that's minus a goal.
My 2 nieces are going. I've never seen us lose a game. So I think we're going to score 2. So we're going to win 2-1.
Are you not factoring in the fact that Becky's going in that equation?
Oh, but Becky's seen us win and lose away.
Mostly lose.
I want us to win, so I'm going to gloss over that. Mainly because my drive home when I'm sober, because I'm driving, will be absolutely horrendous.
Oh,
Why didn't we win?
I'm going to say it's not too far from you, is it? From Cambridge to Villa, it's
2 hours.
An hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah.
It was a nightmare getting away from Villa Park, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not very good. It's very. It's a horrible area as well. Really rough. Aston.
Goes to McCarthy.
And you're taking your nieces to the game. Will you be playing popular contemporary beat music on the way to the game to keep them entertained?
I will be playing any music that annoys them on the way, to be honest.
So Coldplay it is then.
Yeah.
I actually don't like Coldplay, so yeah, I do. I'm with Caller on that.
Yeah. I like Coldplay, but I like Coldplay less than Davo likes to make out. And I like Oasis more than he likes to accept. It's just one
Hold on.
Oh, that's pretty deep, Caller. Nice work. Very philosophical.
Caller, how many times have you seen Coldplay live?
About 7, 8, maybe more.
I mean, you seem to like them quite a bit, mate.
Oasis live a couple of times as well. So, it's not... If Oasis was still going now...
I don't even think I've seen my favorite artist 7 or 8
I probably would have seen them about 7 times, I've seen Imagine Dragons twice, sue me. Yeah. Is this the battle for the Conference League spot, Steve, do you think?
I mean, I'm hoping it's a battle for Europa, because if they beat us, they can go, well, if they beat us big, so what, 4 goals behind in goal difference? Was it 3? If they beat us big, they can leapfrog us, can't they? So could be the battle for Europa League, which is what I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping we win it.
I think it's well worth remembering that Villa have got the next 2 Kings of England as supporters, and Tom Hanks.
That's right.
We've got some dude who was in blue. So, but we've got Dell actually, Dave. Hello from the other side.
We have Tom Hardy, I believe, secretly. Isn't he like secret Spurs fan?
I'd keep it.
I don't think he was. I think he just accepted.
Why would he narrate a Spurs documentary?
Because he got some filthy lucre to do it.
He got loads of money.
He doesn't come across as a guy who doesn't, wants like the extra.
I wouldn't be telling Tom Hardy to his face that he did it for the filthy lucre. To be clear, he looks quite. It looks like it means business.
He looks like a guy who very much would like to look like he doesn't get any lucre at all.
There you go.
You're missing out the most famous Spurs fan.
Kenneth Branagh, very true, very true.
Also, Ted Lasso, the guy who, what's his name? Jason Sudeikis, I believe, is a Spurs fan.
Is he a Spurs fan?
Yeah, he is.
I thought
his dad was. He said his dad was a Spurs fan.
Kent was the Spurs fan.
I believe he said his dad was a Spurs fan, and then the first ever edition or the first test round of that whole Ted Lasso concept was when Gareth Bale was here, and I don't know why he would do it at Spurs unless he did have some sort of connection to Spurs in some way.
Okay,
we're forgetting Michael McIntyre.
Yeah, we are. Let's move on.
There we go. Oh, King Hoddle didn't.
McIntyre. I mean, he's an absolute moron. So I know he's your friend, Steve, but
I wouldn't say he's my friend. I also wouldn't say he's a moron
because you have to sit near him. Right, let's move on. So, why have I got the Brighton and Albion fixtures? Don't know.
I think the point about Brighton is they've got 2 games in hands. 2 games
so
in hand.
Have they got? But those games are like Arsenal and Newcastle. They've still got City, Southampton, and Villa, so they've got tough fixtures. But when you look at the league at the moment, it's all pretty tough, isn't it? So
top and bottom.
Spurs actually have an easier run after Villa than some of the other teams. You would say.
Let's predict the score.
Do we though? Leeds away when they could be fighting. Yeah,
I mean, they're terrible. I mean, we're terrible, but they're also terrible.
Right,
they're terrible, but if they're fighting to stay up.
I need a gypsy's kiss and a reload. So you carry on. You taught these.
Also,
I think the brief from our host is can you do the predictor score? So I'll go Leeds Newcastle first. I think that Newcastle will win 3-1. What say you, Steve?
Well, first of all, get involved in the chat. What do you guys and girls think? I can't go far beyond Newcastle for this either, to be honest. But 2-1 or 3-1. Let's side with you, Dave. I don't normally agree with you, so let's agree with you.
Yeah, I'd see 4-1, 5-1. I don't think Leeds are very good. I'll be curious to see if they look any good under Allardyce at home. I imagine they won't, considering they're coming up against Newcastle, which is a very tough test. So I think they'll lose 3-1 at least.
Okay, so King Hoddle is saying that Newcastle will win 3-1. Daniel Harrison, related to George, 2-1 to the Toon. Cantab, who I think is a legal directory, 4-0. Kerry, still waiting for Adama Traore, 3-1. And Ian Jerome's going 1-0 to the Leeds. So moving on, we've done Villa Spurs already. Chelsea, as owned by Philip Seymour Hoffman versus Notts Forest. I think that Chelsea will win that 2-0 because Forest are absolutely appalling away from home. What say you, Mr. Diver?
It's a really tricky one, isn't it? Because they're both terrible teams. Chelsea really aren't scoring many, but Forest aren't going to come back. 1-0 Chelsea. I think they'll win, but I think it'll be a scrappy, like their goal of the month in April, their only goal. It'll be a scrappy 1-0 win.
To use the same logic that Stevie used against me there when it came to Leeds, being away from home and being desperate for points, I'll use that logic with Forest. Forest are desperate for points at the end of the day. Chelsea have nothing to play for, like just respect for themselves, I guess, which they've really not shown a lot of recent under Frank Lampard. So I could actually see Chelsea maybe sort of expecting it to be an easy game, and then Forest really having a lot more energy, a lot more enthusiasm in them. I actually see Forest upsetting them. I could see it like a 2-1 or a 2-0 or a 2-1 to Forest.
Well, there you go. So King Hoddle, he's saying Chelsea 2-1. We've got Daniel Harrison saying Chelsea 2-1. Kerry's going 2-0 to the Chelsea. Ed is going 2-1 to Chelsea. Pretty unanimous. There we go. Now, if I get this right, I can hopefully move the slide on. Oh, look at that, eh? Technology. Fantastic. I've got to get rid of that. Here he is. He's back. The guest host is back again. Do you want to do Palace Bournemouth guest host? You want to kick off there?
It's got a draw written all over it to me. This two poor teams, very average teams. I'm going to go 1-1.
I think both teams are safe now, so they're both sets of players are metaphorically in Magaluf as we speak. So I'm going Palace 2-1. Steve.
0-0 and a game that nobody will ever watch. Match of the day.
Absolutely right. I would say, back to the Ryan Mason thing, I would take Gary O'Neill sooner than I would take Ryan Mason, because I think Gary O'Neill is, at the end of the day, done something that Scott Parker couldn't, which is kind of funny, and took on the job head on. And he took on a very difficult job, and he made something of it, Gary O'Neill. But Ryan Mason, no disrespect to him, I think he's done whatever he can with the job that he has. But yeah, I'm going to go with Stevie. 0-0. No one will watch this game. I even imagine, I'm curious how many views this will have in the USA when it comes to highlights. I imagine less than 8,000.
Probably, yeah. It's that time of night, by the way, Jack. It's that time of night for garnish. So that's
Was there any garnish provided? Will there be garnish provided at a cocktail in Birmingham against Villa? Stevie, was this a garnish sort of establishment?
I mean, if you consider a tea bag and a cup of tea garnish, then yeah, maybe so.
Man United Wolves, Davo.
I'm going to go for United. They're going to win 3-1.
Steve, Wolves coming into some form. Beat Villa last week.
They are, but I think 2-1. I agree with Dave. I think United will win, but I don't think Wolves get smashed. Or 3-1's not smashing, is it? But I don't think it'll be 3-1, 2-1.
Well, they're doing the best to mess it up right now, but yeah, Man United trying to mess up the top four with all good haste. Jack, United Wolves.
2-1, I would say, or 2-0. I think Wolves could sneak a goal, but they're not going to get any more than one goal this time.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say 2-1, 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think 2-1. Man United, too strong for Wolves. Wolves safe, not a lot to play for, apart from a bit of Black Country pride. And I think when you look at Wolves away form, it's pretty diabolical. So I would agree with that. Southampton, Fulham, Davo.
I was having a few beers, having a chat with a Southampton fan last night who is absolutely distraught. They're down. Fulham will win 3-0.
Steve.
I'm doing this a lot tonight, and I don't like it. It makes me feel a bit dirty. I'm going to go with Dave again.
Ooh.
2-0 or 3-0 to Fulham.
And Jack.
2-1, 3-1 Fulham. I don't know. Definitely won't be watching this one either.
I mean, this isn't going to make my viewing on a Saturday night. Draw, just for the sake of it. Let's say Desmond 2-2.
I knew you'd get Desmond in somewhere. You love it.
Gotta get in there. Is that off your bingo card? Yeah.
It is.
Brentford versus the Spammers, Dave.
So I think the Spammers are safe now, aren't they? And they've obviously got the egg and spoon race second leg semi-final to look forward to. So I reckon Brentford will win 2-0.
Steve?
I'm not enjoying this feeling. I'm feeling dirty about the second. I had 2-0 in my head. So, yeah.
Oh, Jedi mind tricks.
I know. Levy out. Ooh. It works.
Jack? If it works, why hasn't he gone yet? Come on.
Brentford will probably roll over at Southampton, who have nothing to play for, don't probably care anymore. And like you said, Dave, preparing for the Egg and Spoon Race Cup, which I want us to be in next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 2-0 Brentford.
There's a chap I know from work. He's a West Ham fan, and he's pissing his wife off by booking his trip to wherever the final is. Is it Prague? I think it's Prague.
Yeah, I heard that on TalkSport.
You know, I'm just like, who they play? They've got no chance of qualifying for the final, and they're playing like AZ Aspar or someone random.
They've already done the first leg, haven't they?
Yeah, the second leg I'm on about.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying. I was like, they won't get to the final. They're 2-1 up. They're 2-1 up, so they will get to the conference final probably. Playing some Dutch team who no one's ever heard of.
AZ Alkmaar.
Alkmaar, that's the one. Alkmaar. Yeah. So I'm going to say Brentford win 2-0. Everton versus City. Scousers to the slaughter, Davo.
Well, I mean, the thing that Pep's got to juggle is obviously it's a Madrid second leg next week. Yeah, so he's got to juggle.
Hey, while we're here with you, actually,
yes,
I'll ask you another pointed question.
Poignant or pointed?
Both. It's poignant because it might be emotional for you. If West Ham win the Conference League, have they had a more successful season than Spurs?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'll give you that. Well
How's
done,
that
Mark.
that should be an
That's
easy
a good
answer.
question. Yeah, they've won a trophy.
Yeah.
They've won a trophy and no doubt trashed the town in the process. So
and it's their first go at it. Like, we were in that same competition, and then we bowed out in the most embarrassing of ways for them to win it.
No, Jack. We would have won it if it hadn't been for COVID-19. All right, we were on our way.
I think Harry Winks starting against Vitesse was our doom, in my opinion.
Harry Winks starting
and Enes Mira. I believe he started against Enes Mira.
Let's move on. Davo, prediction. Everton City. I'm sorry I asked.
All right, 4-0 City.
Okay, Steve.
You're kidding.
You can just agree with him. It's fine.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Makes me feel dirty. It goes against my entire ethos.
We'll just say 3-0
anyway, but yeah, I legit had 4-0 in my head. I think City are absolutely smashing.
I've got to be honest. I think the fight for relegation is more exciting than anything going on in the Premier League right now. And Jack,
I'm surprised everybody is thinking City are going to have this very easy, just because from even when Everton were in their worst form under Dyche, I still looked at this fixture and was like, this probably looks like a sneaky one for Man City because of where they are in the Champions League. And then knowing the fact that Sean Dyche has probably been preparing for this fixture, I imagine, for quite some time. And I don't know, I don't think he'll win, but I imagine he'll make it difficult. So I could see it being like 2-1 Man City or like something like that. I don't think they're going to roll over Everton. Like, I think Everton are all over the place, but I feel like, I don't know, I always thought that this one could be slightly tough for him just because of the, the desperation of Everton.
Yeah. I think Everton will make it tough, but I think Man City...
Are they even completely safe yet? Like, too? That's the other thing. Like, as well. Everton, yeah. So
absolutely not safe.
Yeah, so that's why that's why I think they'll be desperate. I don't think they'll make it that easy. I know they're bad, but I don't think they'll make it that easy.
I think it'll be 3-1 City. I think Emerson will score, get a bit of hope, and then it'll be quickly extinguished. Goons Brighton should be a cracking game. This, Davo.
I think that the Goons will win that pretty easily, 3-1.
Okay, Steve.
It's going to be a good game, isn't it? And if I finish work, I'll watch it. I think it's a difficult one to call. I think it'll be 2-1 either way. I think to Arsenal, I would go Arsenal, but I think Brighton have got a chance. And it depends on Arsenal's start, I think. So they're going to be under a lot of pressure. They haven't dealt well with pressure over recent years. We saw what they did against Newcastle. We've seen them wobble now. But they seem to have fixed that wobble a little bit. So probably 2-1 to Arsenal. Obviously, I want it to be 2-1 to Brighton, but...
Okay. Jack?
I want Brighton to win, but I mean, I feel like any time that I predict sensibly with Arsenal, they just, I don't know. I think they're going to win it 3-1.
I think they're going to draw. I think they're going to stumble a little bit. I think
that'd be nice.
I think they're going to draw. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, pretty end to end, and I'm backing my boys Brighton. I like watching Brighton. I'm a Spurs fan, but honestly, they deserve to be above us in the league. They've been smashing this season. Really good entertainment. Potter built an absolute dynasty there. Still reaping the rewards of who's Matt. Yeah, I like that 4-0. I'll take that all day long, Matt. Leicester Liverpool. Davo can only see this going one way.
4-1 Liverpool.
Yep. Steve?
1-0 Liverpool from a dodgy penalty.
Jack?
I think Leicester are terrible. I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool. Something on that sort of manner.
Well, apparently Foxes never quit, and I'm hoping they do. I think Leicester will lose this 3-1, and the heads will go. So yeah, let's see where we get. We'll get to. We'll come back to Hugo in a minute. Bottom three. Who's it going to be? I just want a prediction off each of you. We haven't got much time, so I'm just going to go. Davo, who's your bottom three?
Southampton. Leicester, Leeds.
Stevie.
Just to disagree with him, I'm going to go Southampton, Leeds, Leicester. Different order.
Leicester are in massive trouble, by the way. Massive trouble financially. If they get down there, they're not going to come back in a hurry. So
well, Everton more so, allegedly. I mean, they've got the stadium they're building. And apparently, they've got a lot of players who aren't on relegation clauses. So if the press are to be believed, and they're already in financial trouble. So if they go down, I don't know how payment's going to save them.
Because Levy was taking advantage of Everton's financial FFP woes last August window by paying 50 million quid for Richarlison.
And he'll go back. And he'll go back for Pickford and overpay for him too, probably, Dave.
Well, I've got Pickford's boot next to me, haven't I? Still, from football prizes.
You got what next to you?
Pickford's boot.
I didn't know you'd won Pickford's boot.
Yeah. Huh?
Why
Literally
is
in
that?
the box next to me. I think.
That's Are we about to see Pickford's boot?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it beautiful, eh?
Well, I've got Hoddle's boot over there on the wall, and I've got to be honest.
Do you want to do a swap?
I'll take Hoddle's boot over Pickford's boot any day of the week. Jack, for you, bottom three, what's it look like?
I think what it currently is, Leeds, Southampton.
I think so. Not tempted to think Everton could get sucked in.
Like I said, I have more confidence in Everton picking up, maybe again, delusional here, and I'll be in the mud next time I'm on here. Sorry, say what you're saying?
The 2 points clear at the moment, Everton.
They are 2 points clear. I just have more confidence in them because isn't it the fact that Leeds United play Newcastle, right? And then Leicester play Liverpool.
Yeah, but they've got to play us Leeds, which is
true. That's that's an opportunity for them for sure. But what I mean to say is that if they were to leapfrog Everton now, I think any of these teams don't really have much of a chance. I think they're all sort of going to lose to whoever they're coming up against because Everton's also playing Man City. And I feel like I back Everton getting some type of draw or Sean Dyche pulling his magic more of a chance of that happening than Sam Allardyce, I think, pulling off a result or, Leeds or I don't know, Leicester.
I mean, this is my fantasy land. Southampton, Leicester, Everton would be absolutely joyous. I'm not going to use strong words because we're PG-13, but I would get very excited about that. That would make my year.
So when was the last time in the Premier League that none of the promoted teams got relegated straight back again? It's been a while.
Do you know this or
it has been a while.
It's a conversational discussion point, Call. I'm just throwing it out.
A long time.
Has it ever happened?
Must have done.
It is odd to see those three teams when Red Hill puts it there: Southampton, Leicester, and Leeds. Like it's I don't know. It's odd.
I mean, Leeds only came up last year, was it last year?
No, 2 years ago.
Year before.
Yeah.
So Daniel Harrison saying it's 2018.
Well, there you go.
Well,
I do think Leeds actually have a better chance of staying up than Leicester.
But it is funny because everyone kind of sort of put Fulham and Bournemouth pretty much in their most relegation.
Especially
I didn't put Fulham in there, but I put Bournemouth for sure. I think I put Bournemouth dead last.
I mean, Forest started shockingly as well.
We need to write these predictions down at the start of next season because I can't remember what I said, to be honest. I could go back and look, but can't be asked. Moving on, there is Hugo Lloris. He may triple his wages in Saudi Arabia, and the good news is he probably won't face that many powerful shots in that league. Only Ronaldo would trouble him. Are we saying au revoir to Hugo, Davo?
Well, I thought you were going to ask Jack that question.
Well,
too dangerous, too.
I am going to Jack in a minute, but I want your opinion.
Well, look, I think that it's a shame, really, because since Newcastle, where he, the supposed injury that he got at half-time in the dressing room, I think it's kind of sad in a way that after 10 years service to the club, it's going to end in a little bit of a bitter note. So I do hope at the last home game of the season that he does get a decent reception from the crowd. Obviously, Levy that day is organised for the first time ever women's football and the men's football to be played on the same day. Is that
I'm not sure Levy's personally organised it, but
I think it's classic.
See you giving him some credit.
How is that a diversion?
It's the last game of the season of what has been a very toxic season. So it's the last opportunity for
toxic. Ding.
The last game of the season. I'm looking forward to Levy's notes at the end of the season in the program. I love reading them every year. I think last year I
the video about DNA.
Last year I wrote a parody end of season notes, which I might do again this year.
I'm not sure it was a winner last year, but I think this year you could really take it home.
I'll do my best.
I'll read it out live on air.
I'll do my best. But so anyway, Lloris, I hope he gets a decent send-off reception. It has ended sour. I've been a bit disappointed with his lack of leadership, really, in terms of in the season that we've had. He should have been more out talking to the press and been a bit more of a leader in terms of what's going on, and he hasn't done that, and I've been disappointed with him on that. His form this season, I wasn't arguing last summer that we should have sold him last summer, but as it's turned out, he's had a poor final season with us, so it's time to move him on. And if he goes and gets a massive payday out in Saudi Arabia, good for him. And over to Jack.
Jack, Hugo, au revoir.
I would say to Hugo, kind of like the saying of, don't let the door hit you, but maybe on top of that, don't let the bottom of my boot hit you on the way out. That's what I would say it like it too. I think he probably, like Messi and Ronaldo, really needs the money to go to the Saudi Pro League. I imagine his budget's quite tight as well. But in all seriousness, we were under the impression that he wanted some type of, good send off with Spurs, and then he was sort of just going to go back to sort of, Nice or Lyon or whatever it may be, and sort of enjoy his time there. If he were to have this type of season and then go to the Saudi Pro League, I think that definitely would be further, sort of stain on his sort of reputation and further sort of stain on his sort of time here. I've always maintained, and I've always tried to say, at least at one stage, I think Hugo was a good shot stopper. What I've always questioned is his character. I've never really found him to be a leader. I've never found him to be in any way potentially a good captain for Spurs. And I think that's definitely shown this season when we've absolutely needed a good captain. Against the likes of Aston Villa, even after he conceded that goal from Douglas Luiz's shot, he threw his hands up at his teammates for whatever reason, I don't know, when it was completely his own fault. He did the same thing in both North London derbies when he made mistakes in those games. He threw his arms up at his teammates and complained to them. And he's also at this stage this season, when being asked about his mistakes, he's not at all, taken any sort of ownership of them. He's actually defended it and said, no, I actually think what I did was correct and I couldn't have done any better. When Sonny was asked about his own mistakes this season, he sort of, for the most part, came out and sort of said, yeah, I can do better and I should be doing better. So I think for a long time, maybe the wool has now been finally taken over our eyes on Hugo maybe never being a good captain or a good leader. And I think that's coming out. So like I would say, no avoir, no auf Wiedersehen, no choosy from me. Just a nice harsh boot out the door, I would say, from Hugo. But like I said, he's always been a good keeper, maybe until the last 2 seasons, maybe. But he's always been a good keeper. I just question his leadership.
I think you're a bit harsh on Hugo, but I think it is time to say au revoir, mon ami. And I think he will not be there next season. Be interesting to see who we sign in the summer. Once we sort out a director of football, a manager, and a chief scout, it will be very interesting to see who we sign. They need to get a move on. And we need to get a move on too, because I can now hear a dog barking. Whose dog is this? Is this you again, Davo?
Yeah, it's all that.
Pause of all the noise.
It's like a children's toy hanging outside your window, making just like the typical noises. We're going to hear a cow mooing in a second.
Well, I'm going to be moving in about 2 months' time.
Will it be more sound?
Melbourne?
Where are you moving to?
Melbourne.
No, I'm not moving to Melbourne. I like going out and doing something exciting on a Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm moving. I'm actually moving near the kebab shop. To be honest.
I was going to say, you said nearer the kebab shop. Yeah.
No, I am.
Will it be more soundproof? That's what we want to know.
I don't know yet. We'll wait and see.
Have you been to this place? Did you not test it on YouTube? Beforehand.
Well, I've viewed it a couple of times. I didn't go and take my YouTube kit set up to test it out. No, sorry about that.
This is why you've got issues. Au revoir, Dave. It's been emotional.
It's been lovely to be on. Lovely, great debut tonight, caller. Well done.
Thanks.
I think you've done a great job.
It's strange. It feels like I've never been away.
Yeah, I hope you come back again, because I think you were good. I
Well,
hope
I'm
you
on
felt
holiday.
that it's in a safe environment. Yeah.
Well, I'm on holiday next week, so we'll see about that.
Again?
Stevie,
Again.
again.
Jesus.
Stevie, no one has more holidays than you. Thanks for joining in your very loud shirt.
You're very welcome. Very loud shirt, very loud support tomorrow, I hope. Yeah, 2-1 tomorrow. We're going to do it.
Okay,
confident.
believe.
I'm not
Believe.
confident at all, but
Believe.
I've got to play confidence on that.
Yeah. And 5 more likes for the 100. Everyone hit like now. Go for it. And Jack, thank you for joining us from Brooklyn.
Yeah, only one Hill Massey mention, only one Steve Hitchen mentioned, and only one, a few bits about Hugo Lloris. I've tried to stay well behaved.
I'm gonna publish some bingo cards in advance for when we're all next on, including one for myself because
Hold on. Caller,
Mm.
we normally do something when we get to 100 likes, don't we? So maybe, Davo, will you move to Melbourne if we get 100 likes?
No.
Yeah. That'd be
Mate,
great.
no commitment to the show. Where's your passion for the show?
What, getting up at 5:30 on a Saturday morning and no commitment to the show,
The words of Conte is easier. Adios. Bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and come on, you Spurs. Let's beat the Villa.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.